it's time to heal and feel, be real. You just gotta take your time, unwind and chill. Cause now it's time to love yourself. Build emotional and mental health. Cause Black woman, it's time to heal and feel, be real.
Hey y'all, we're back with another episode of Black Women Healing Podcast. And if y'all haven't seen already, we have a amazing, hilarious special guest. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our special guest. Today we have Reverend Tammie Denyse, PhD. She is a dedicated advocate focusing on empowering and healing women of color affected by breast cancer. A nearly 20-year breast cancer survivor, Reverend Denyse is an ordained minister and a published author with extensive expertise in breast cancer awareness, entrepreneurship, and spiritual wellness. Through her nonprofit, Carrie's Touch, Reverend Denyse addresses the unique challenges women of color face within the healthcare system. She provides culturally relevant, emotional, and spiritual support, resources for those in need, and fosters empowering communities. So look, every time I read a bio, I just get hyped. Like it just
No,
like
for
you
real.
you're doing this work. Yeah.
Right.
So thank you so much for that. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with our this or that. Now that we've introduced you and our audience knows a little bit about you. So in thinking of this or that, I don't know. Myra, you got something?
I do. Let me tell my child to hold on, though. You can help yourself. Or give me 1 second, okay? I'll come help you.
Bring the baby in. Babies are life. Babies are the future.
She'll never leave. Now she's looking at me like, so you gonna bring me or what?
You heard her. You heard her.
Okay. So my this or that is, because, I've been working out every day. If you had to pick between the two, you have to do a gym workout only, or you have to try a bunch of different types of classes. Even if it's stuff that you know you'd be bad at, you got to try a bunch of different classes. Which one would you pick?
Like academic classes?
No, like workout classes. Like you got to go do pickleball, you got to do fencing, you got to do all those things.
Okay. Yeah, I'm choosing donuts.
That's not one of the options.
You saw I thought about it for a second. Like, when did I say anything about a donut?
That's not one of the options.
I mean, but it's my okay. If I'm going to be coerced into oppression, I would choose. I would choose the workout that I know. The gym workout. I've done gym. I get down with gym workouts.
Oh, I cannot stand the gym. So
Well, that's why I chose donuts, but y'all forced me to choose something else.
If it was between the donuts, that would have been my option too. But if we're thinking of the two we have, the gym just feels so repetitive. That's why I struggle with gym. Like I like the nuances of going to. You're right though. I might not like it, or it might be really difficult. But I feel like I might be more motivated to try something new. Of like, okay, this is. Like I like workouts where I don't have to think. That's why usually I am in a class, because it's like I look up and I'm sweating and I'm like, wait, how am I sweating? Like, cause I'm having a good time, or it's because I'm focused on a new move they're trying to do, and so it just works better like that. The gym just feels so like I know I'm working out and I don't want to know.
I feel like I'm being gym shamed or something.
No.
What podcast is this? First, I'm forced to choose one of your answers, and then I'm ridiculed at the answer that I chose from your choices. What is this? What is going on here?
Myra, you got to answer because you the one started this. You asked the question.
I am definitely going to pick the gym because for me, everything you described about the class is how I feel about the gym. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to target. There are beautiful people to look at. I just love the gym experience because after you had me come to that damn pole class on Monday, I've been questioning life.
So why wasn't that an option?
You didn't want to go to this class. I was rolling across the floor, girl, kicking my feet. Didn't know what was happening.
I can't do it. I just wanted it to be an option.
It is the classes. That would have been one of the classes.
But see, here's the thing about the gym. If you get a trainer, the trainer keeps it lively because the trainer is always challenging you. And so that variety that you're looking for, a trainer will have you turned up and you will be like, oh, so you, Myra, said that you look up and, no, I'm sorry, Donica, you said you look up and you're sweating and you're wondering why. With a trainer, you put in that work and then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, okay, Papa, I see you.
No, that is true. I've had a trainer before. The results part is nice, but even with the trainer, it almost, it's like they're going to tell you to do the stuff. It still just feels like repetitive. The gym, you're going to do this 10 reps of this, 4 reps of this. I don't want to do it.
It's wild that you say that because I'd be like, oh, what, like, because now I'm into like weightlifting. So I'd be like, oh, what new weight am I going to try? And my gym has these like machines I ain't never seen before, some like state of the art stuff. I'll be getting on all this stuff, probably messing up stuff. But it's so fun to be like, oh, what does this machine do? What does this machine do? I'm sure people be looking at me like, what the hell is she doing? But I'll be having time of my life.
I'm just going to sip my tea.
Well, thank you for doing our segment of this or that. So to tell you all what we're discussing today, we're actually talking about self-care is healthcare, breast cancer prevention tips for Black women. And I'm so happy that we do have Reverend Denyse, just because Reverend Tammie Denyse, just because as I'm thinking of this is a topic that feels so serious a lot of times. And so just already hearing you and like laughing and being able to talk like and be human and relatable, I think this is needed. So thank you already for giving us that space of just like not feeling like, because I think this topic sometimes feels like that.
Yeah. Well, let me go back to the top and thank you both for inviting me to talk about this. We'll get into the interview and the questions. And I just want to say that there is a lot more to this topic. I was on a call last night with a woman in Oklahoma, I believe she was, petrified because she was going to the doctor today. And I asked her what type of phone she had, and she told me an iPhone. And I went and got my iPhone, and I told her to download the Carrie's Touch app. And on that app, I walked her through how to manage her healthcare appointment.
Mm-hmm.
When we finished the call, she said she felt so much better. She was less anxious and she was hopeful that she was prepared to have the type of conversation that she wanted to have with her healthcare professional. There's a thing called white coat syndrome. I'm sure you've heard about it. And when many of us go into a doctor's office, there is a lot of fear. There's a lot of intimidation that just comes along with the coat itself. The doctor might be a phenomenal doctor, but the doctor is often shielded from being a human because of that white coat. And so we teach people how to humanize their experience, the doctor, them, and what they are discussing. So thank you for giving me a platform, another platform, and an opportunity to share what I know, being a 20-year breast cancer survivor.
Absolutely. We're already starting to talk about it. So getting into it a little bit more and thinking about you and your nonprofit, how did Carrie's Touch come into fruition?
Yeah, so a little more than 20 years ago, I was 39 years old, and I was having some excessive bleeding, and my doctor, phenomenal Black physician, she said to me, well, we don't know what's causing it. Let's do all the tests. You're going to be 40 on your next birthday. Let's do a mammogram. The mammogram came back abnormal. It was my baseline mammogram. So people were like, oh, that's normal. That happens all the time. Well, it turned out that I was actually diagnosed with breast cancer. They said that I had invasive ductal carcinoma in situ, and it was already spreading. It was aggressive. And my prognosis is that I wouldn't live. It was unlikely that I would live to see my 5-year cancer anniversary. cancer anniversary. I was 39. I was a single mom. I had 3 kids. And I was like, no, I don't like that prognosis. So I need to figure out how to advocate for myself. I need to educate myself and I need to fight for my life. And then I was offered an opportunity to participate in a clinical trial. Didn't know much about clinical trials other than Tuskegee. And, we know what that's like. It's like, yeah, no, wrong answer, not going to do that. My doctor said, this is what I can tell you about a clinical trial, that it's the most advanced treatment options available on the market. And with the type of cancer that you have, it will give you more chances at life. And I said, well, God is going to give me life, but I'm going to see what this treatment is you're talking about. So shorten a very, very long story. I started doing my research and then I found out about the 41%. I almost wore my In the 41% t-shirt, but it's a little bit cold. And I was like, yeah, no. But I found out that Black women die at approximately 41% higher rates than white women do with this disease. And there wasn't a lot of research out there at the time, 20 years ago. Nobody was talking about it. And it was just a thing, like we're ordering lunch. And I was like, Lord, when you, not bargaining with God, because God gets to choose the timestamp on life and death, but God, when you save my life, I will endeavor to teach other Black women how to fight for their lives, still leaving, life and death in God's hands. But the power of the tongue also can inform how we navigate life. And so my late sister and I decided to found Carrie's Touch to break the silence, because at that time, nobody was talking about this thing, to break the silence, to disrupt the status quo, and to fight for those that cannot, will not, and do not know how to fight for themselves in a doctor's office. So that's the short version. And, I've talked about this for 20 years. So I have to pause and give a break, because I could tell the whole interview in one answer.
No, that's great. We love to hear your story, and we're going to hear more of it as the time goes on.
Let's go.
I'm curious, what was the toughest part of your journey? Because as you're sharing, oh my gosh, today has been a day of just unlocking memory. I remember going to work with my mom. My mom was a single mom, and I would go to work with her all the time, and her boss sat right across from her. She was really close with her boss. And I'll never forget when her boss was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was one of those things where we were all, because I was a part of the office, they used to call me like the mini coworker. So we all were informed that she was diagnosed. We all were informed when she would have her treatments, if she would have any surgery related to it and those things. And it was like she fought it, and that was it. And I always wonder, why did we never have more conversations about this? Why didn't my mom teach me more about what exactly breast cancer was? Because in my little kid head, I'm like, she dying? Like, that's what I was thinking. And so every time I would see her in her cubicle, I was like, wait, she's back. Like, what's going on here? And so I'm so thankful of the work you're doing with Carrie's Touch, because more of these conversations do need to happen. Because having that memory, me not knowing what resources, me not knowing any more information, now you're bringing something to the forefront where I'm like, if I did need support, if this were to come up, I know where to go now. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And let me respond to that. Carrie's Touch has a research partnership with UCLA, and it's called Project SOAR, Speaking Our African American Realities. And it is unlocking the unique experiences that Black women, specifically Black women, have with breast cancer, navigating breast cancer. And what we have found in our research is that Black women are often silent because of societal positioning, that we have to show up perfect. We cannot show pain. We cannot show any type of inadequacy, because our jobs are on the line. Sally could be diagnosed with breast cancer, could talk about it, could run arms up in the air. Hey, I just did my first race, and that's all celebrated. But we don't talk about it in the Black community because of Tuskegee, because when we hear about it, we're at Big Mama's funeral. Oh, what did she die of? Girl, you know she died of cancer. And we whisper it, right? We don't celebrate, we don't talk about the fact that Big Mama had cancer for 25 years,
Mm.
lived for 25 years before she died, right? We just found out that she died. A lot of times we go to the doctors late. We have fewer treatment options available to us. And yes, by the time they actually start the treatment, it's too late for long life and positive outcomes because we've delayed going to the doctor. So, just pause for a commercial break and say, listen, sisters, listen, brothers, if you feel anything abnormal in your body anywhere, go get it checked out because our greatest options is early detection. I know you're going to ask me a question in a few minutes about prevention, but there is no prevention for breast cancer. It
Mm.
really is positioning our body. So this whole workout question was really fun, but there's merit in that, right? Positioning our bodies to be able to fight against cancer taking root because we develop cancer cells every single day, but our
Mm.
systems flush it out. And so we don't want to provide an environment for cancer to lodge and then grow because, if when I was diagnosed with cancer, the cancer was close to my chest wall. At that time, I had really large breasts. I was never going to find the lump until it was too late.
Mm.
So the mammography found the lump, right? But what if my doctor said, I'm going in there to see her for bleeding?
Mm.
Nothing breast related at all. But what if she said, do this mammogram just in case? And I was like, yeah, no, not doing that because I'm here for bleeding. I'm not
Mm.
here for breast cancer. I wouldn't be talking to you today because by the time the breast cancer would have been visible for with a lump, or I had some other types of symptoms, it possibly could have been too late. It was already a very fast growing cancer. So there is merit in the silence, and I always want to humanize the Black woman and not make her the victim of, not, or the not the victim, but the culprit of the diagnosis. There are systems that are in place that impede us from being able to be proactive. I tell everybody I don't fear anybody but Jesus. So if you are afraid to go to your doctor and advocate for yourself, you got a few options. One, get a new doctor. Doctors can be fired. There are hundreds of thousands of amazing doctors out there, right? And doctors are human too. Doctors have bad days too. But if we go in there in the spirit with the intention of collaboration about our health and our well being, we are better positioned to be able to gain information so that we can make an informed choice about our health care.
Wow. So as you were sharing, you had mentioned there's no prevention for breast cancer, but at
Hmm.
the same time, it almost sounds like, what is the word I'm looking for? There are ways to be responsive is almost what I want to
Hmm.
say, like
Yeah,
responsive to
that's
your
it.
but the
Yeah.
response can help you to prevent what is, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but I want to
Yeah.
say like readiness and making sure you pick the doctor that you feel comfortable with,
Yep.
utilizing all your resources and things like
That's
that.
right.
That's
Yeah.
almost like a preventative measure
Yes.
in
Hmm.
some type of way. Like that's like what I'm kind of getting from you and being
Yeah,
responsive.
so it's wonky, right? Because you
Yeah,
can't prevent cancer because cancer cells are develop in our bodies every day. So you can't prevent that from happening, but what you can do is, again, position your body like it's a war zone, right? So that cancer cannot take root in your body and stay and lodge and then grow and become, a problem. Yep, yes, we should do donuts periodically, whatever. But but yet limit the amount of sugar that we intake, limit the amount of fried foods, limit, all of the stuff that makes our culture as rich as it is in our food, right? We get to do that in celebratory moments. We just can't do it every single day. right? Because then it brings about additional diseases, which when you have two major illnesses, it's called a comorbidity. And so then you're fighting two major diseases. That's one of the reasons why across the board, Black people are the number one in mortality. Heart disease, lung cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer. We're the leaders, and that's not a badge we want.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Definitely.
No. Yeah.
So I'm curious because
Hmm.
I've had so many different experiences with cancer in my life. It's been something that's been pretty common in my family, but again, not talked about very much. And so oftentimes it's like we talk about the person once they're gone, and I'm like, but we don't know anything that they were thinking.
Right.
And
Right.
so I've always been curious about this. Like, what was the hard part of your journey? Because those are ways we could have stepped in. But I'm
Yeah.
curious for you, what do you feel like were some of the toughest parts of your journey?
Yeah, let me write a quick note. The hardest part of my journey is that I was a single mom. My sons were 9 and 10, and my daughter was 15. No, they were 11 and 12, and my daughter was 17. And as a single mom, I was concerned about the maintaining their quality of life while I was navigating the unknown. I didn't know anything about cancer 20 years ago. In 2 weeks, I'll be 60, and I started chemo on my 40th birthday, right? So I didn't know what lie ahead. I didn't know that my journey was going to be as onerous as it was. I mean, cancer, yes, but treatment to fight the cancer so that I could live almost took me out. I tell people I wasn't afraid to die, but chemotherapy was so harsh
Mm.
that I begged God to take my life.
Mm.
But that was 20 years ago. 20 years later, I get to wear a crown that I was in a clinical trial that helped um, um, create a drug. Well, not create a drug, but test a drug that's now considered standard of care for breast cancer.
Wow.
Right? So, yes, Tuskegee happened and we have grown. I get to say that I was part of medical advancement. The treatment that people receive now was the B selection. My selection is what they were testing to find out if the chemotherapy was going to be more effective administered every 14 days or every 21 days. And I was randomized into the group for every 14 days. Standard of care is every 21 days because what they found was 14 days didn't give our bodies enough time to recover so that we weren't just perpetually sick the entire time. So I was concerned about the impact on my children and their well being, their mental well being, their emotional well being, my financial well being, and how was their life going to continue to move with as little disruption as possible. So let me just give you another commercial break here. My friends and family did what they called a celebration of life shower. So when we hear that term celebration of life, we're going to somebody's funeral, right? And they said, nope, you're alive. We're celebrating you right now. And so they sent out notices far and wide. Again, this is 20 years ago. We didn't have the internet the way we have it now. Cell phones weren't the way they are now. Social media wasn't the way it is now. So this was people making phone calls, sending letters, kind of like telephone with, this friend tells this friend tells this friend. Any rate, they put together the celebration of life shower. They said, don't buy a card, don't buy flowers, don't buy anything. If you only have $5.62, put it in an envelope, wrap it up in a sock, and bring your $5.62. I don't tell people exactly how much I raised because I don't want people to compare, but I raised enough money to be able to match the missing part of my disability insurance. So I was still functioning on my full salary, but everybody's journey is different. And even if somebody only raises a couple of $100, a couple of $1,000, or whatever the case, it's more money than you had when you started. So
Right.
call your homies and tell them to come on together. Don't buy cards, don't buy flowers, And there were people that said, well, I still want to get her flowers. I was like, no, I want my children, if they want to have McDonald's, I want to be able to buy them McDonald's. So that money you're going to spend on flowers could be McDonald's for them as a treat, that day. And I'm not advocating for McDonald's. It's just what it was at the time. I'm not being paid by Joe. So that was the hardest part of the challenge, of the journey for me, being concerned about the well-being of my children.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Shout out to the
Um,
community, your
Yeah.
community. Oh
But
my.
the community became, I got money, I got checks in the mail from people to this day, I don't know who they are.
Wow.
So that's what I said. Because we are silent, because we are prideful people, because this society ridicules Black women the way that it does, we often don't tell anybody about what we're going through, right? But I was willing to be vulnerable and I took that chance and it had a huge payoff. And I'm here to say, sisters, listen, these three folks on this line want you to win, and we want you to win big. So go tell somebody about what you're going through and tell them what you need. Right. So many times people will ask, well, what do you need when something like this comes up? Well, what do you need? Most of us don't know because what? We do it all ourselves.
Yeah.
We handle it all alone. Make your staples list. Okay, in the event that I got the flu next week, what would I need to lessen my discomfort? Just make a list. And so when somebody says, do you need? Oh, we got these phones. Everybody got them right here, right?
Mhm.
Make a list. When somebody asks, what do you need? Go to that list. Oh, I need some Kleenex. Oh, no. I want the lotion kind, and I don't want the Safeway brand or the Ralph's, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Right? Tell them what you need. It's okay. We are worthy and deserving of having what we need.
Absolutely.
I'm so curious. I have to ask this because just from
Yeah.
a life experience,
Yeah.
how did you keep showing up as a mom? Because I'll give a backstory.
Mhm.
So when I was about 6 or 7 years old, my mom had a brain tumor. Well, she lives with a brain tumor now, but her
Mhm.
doctor was like, "Oh, you're gonna have 3 years to live." And I remember going to school telling all my friends because I was like, "I need my support. Y'all all gonna know what's going on." But I
Yeah.
remember my mom doing all these random things with me. Like we were going everywhere and taking
Mhm.
pictures all the time, and her steadily telling me like, "My time with you won't be long. My time with you won't be long." I don't remember her ever leaning on anyone, and I always
Mm.
wonder, how were you still showing up as my mom? Because she cooked food for me all the time. She was at every event. I was in dance class. We were living a normal life in addition to she was trying to make all these additional memories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like a sensitive topic. Like we don't really talk about it. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, how did you keep showing up as a
Yeah.
mom?
Yeah. First of all, shout out to your mama. Shout out to your mama.
Yes.
I didn't. I did
Mm.
not. I did not. I tapped out and I fought. At that time, my daughter, who's my eldest, she and I didn't have a positive relationship. And
Mm.
she was 17 when I was diagnosed. Then, no, she was 18 when I was diagnosed. And she had moved out of the house and she wanted to come back. And I said, look, sis, I'm fighting for my life. I cannot have you kill me. And I prioritized Tammie Denyse in my
Mm.
life. I let the village take care of my kids. I didn't go to games. I didn't cook. There's this thing online now called, I think, Meal Train or something like that. That wasn't a thing then. I had a friend who was a bomb at spreadsheets. She took a spread. People, what do you need? I need somebody to cook for my children. What do you need? I need someone to take my children to basketball practice. What do you need? I need somebody to come clean my house. What do you need? I need somebody to come help me shower. What do you need? I need somebody to come just sit by my bedside and lay hands on me and pray. Learning to just tap in because I wanted to teach my children that God made so many of us, and we were not intended to do life alone. I was a
Mm,
single mom, but I wasn't single in the journey. No one survives any traumatic experience alone. We survive in community. We survive in family. And your mom made her family her community. So though she didn't have external support, she drew from within and
mm.
she leaned on her internal support as her motivation to keep fighting.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That touched on so many things. Like, I love how you normalize and empathize with my mom, but you
Mhm.
also normalize Black women asking for help in ways that they can do it. And I hope that the folks listening are really taking that in, because we
Mhm.
oftentimes don't know how to say what we need.
Right. We
Thank you.
don't.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So let's shift a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
curious, as ordained minister, how do you incorporate spiritual wellness into your work with breast cancer survivors?
Yeah. So it's tricky because as a nonprofit organization, I can't proselytize. I can't, lift up any single religious following.
Mhm.
Reverend is a huge clue that I am a woman of faith, right? It's like, ah. And so it depends on the setting, right? In some regards, I tell people that my faith belief is I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And I believe that God is bigger and big enough to hold us all. So why don't we meet heart to heart,
Mhm.
human to human, and let the powers that be resolve however we associate or disassociate with God? And in that space, I believe that that's what Jesus was doing when Jesus was challenging the religious elite, right? When Jesus was going to the houses of the tax collector, when the high priests were sitting up in the high towers, Jesus was in the hood with the people.
Mhm.
Right. And when the people were being ripped off by the church, Jesus said, "Not on my watch," and went and flipped over the tables and exposed the priests who were the actual crooks who were disrespecting Jesus' Father's house. So I come in on that energy. I never minimize who I am. And I also invite and leave space for somebody else to be fully who they are. We might not agree when we leave the space, but the thing that we can agree on is that that experience gave agency to both living beings.
I love that. I love the way you explain that of like, yeah, like you're not, it's kind of like what Myra just said, like you're not shaming anyone or even like trying to minimize how people have to show up in your space. You're accepting it, you're welcoming it, but you're also not minimizing who you are as well. Like for all these different people having to like change your name or like, no, I'm not going to say this. No, you are who you are as well. That's beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
You keep
yeah.
reminding me to just be my beautiful Black self. Like, everything
Girl,
you
you
said was
better.
like, these are more ways you could be your beautiful Black self. Like, you just dropping all the things there. I'm like, just putting it in
Yeah,
my pocket. Thank you.
yeah. And here's the deal, right? None of us are perfect. So let's be imperfect in love together.
Might as well.
Might as well, right? I don't have to dim your light in order for me to shine. And I don't have to dim my light in order for you to shine. I don't have to go beat you over the head about my God. If my God is who I believe my God to be, my God is going to show up in your life. And I don't have to do anything but just live like Jesus.
Definitely.
Be
Yes.
your black, beautiful self, girl.
Yes. So I know that we talked a little bit about more proactive, being proactive. That's kind of that's the word you use, yeah, instead of
Yeah.
like prevention. And so, in thinking of this proactive piece for those who are scared, because again, I think that is a huge piece of a lot of this. For those who are scared to get tested or seek medical care in general, what advice would you give them as a starting point?
Yeah. Yeah. So, phone a friend. That's the first thing. So, story time. When we are in the community, we used to do these mobile mammography events, and we would go into communities where others wouldn't go into, and we bring these mobile mammographies, um, uh, long trucks, so that people could come there and get their mammogram. And so we were at a community event promoting, and this sister comes up to me. She said, "Girl, what you doing?" I said, "Girl, I'm out here trying to take care of your breast. What you doing?" She said, "Honey, these titties was made for men to live on." I
Oh,
said, "Oh," I said, "Honey, I feel you." And I said, "But if there's some dis-ease inside them titties, he ain't gonna have nothing to feel on if you don't go get it checked out." And then she was like, "How you talking to me like that, Reverend Sister Girl?" I said, "How you talking to me like that?"
yeah.
Right? And then she said, "Well, I do have something going on. I'm
Wow.
scared." And I said, "Okay, fear is a normal reaction." I said, "What if I decide to come with you?" She said, "You come with me?" I said, "Absolutely." So with the mobile mammography, because of the radiation and the protections and all of those things, they only have space inside for the people that's actually getting the mammogram. So I told her, I said, "I cannot go inside with you, but I will walk you to the door. I will stand by the door. When you come out the door, I will be right there." And so they had some complications. She was in there for quite a long time. They said that, it would take about 30 minutes. She might have been in there for about an hour. When she came out, I was still standing at the door. Now, I live in Sacramento. The temperatures can get in the summertime up to 110, 115. It was one of those 110, 115 days. She came out, and I'm standing right there, and she fell in my arms. And I said, "Are you okay?" Guess what she said? She goes, "I can't believe you're still here." She said, "Nobody has ever stood by my side when I needed them most." So most of the time, I believe, and our research is showing us with the Project SOAR, is that a lot of times Black women's fear is because we have to do life alone. So facing that fear is phoning a friend. And there are people that say that they don't have anybody, and I challenge that, and I say, "You have somebody, but you may not want to choose that person. So create safe boundaries for you to be able to call on that person, you know? And I can't say for 100% of the time, but for the majority of the time, when you phone a person and you're truly in need, they come through. They will come through. We got the rascals that leave us hanging, men, women, family, co-workers. That those are but we know who we really could call in that moment if we were fearful of our lives. I just believe that.
I believe that too. I totally believe that. For all my friends listening, if you need me, you better call me.
Mhm.
Danica knows she gonna call me.
I was
I'm
going to say, Danica, you're quiet. What do you think about that?
I mean, it just hits so deep. I mean, I
Mhm.
agree with everything you're saying. I think even Black women who are partnered and who have spouses, they
Yep.
still don't feel like they can call someone. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I pride that of being there for my friends, and my friends know that I'll call them if I need something as well.
Right.
Um, and for the friends that I do have, is I think that in the times where I have struggled, I even appreciate the space. Like Myra, she's one of those that will be like, let me know. Like she's one of those that will come in too. And I think
Mhm.
in those moments, that's when I have learned as well of like the more it happens, the more it's normalized. The more
Right,
you
right.
get used to it, the more it doesn't feel uncomfortable. It feels very uncomfortable at first,
It feels
uh,
very, yeah.
because that's not what we're taught. My parents, they're not like they're learning still. They're getting more comfortable with it, but I didn't learn that from my
No,
family,
no.
and so to be able to have the community I have now, I mean, I don't know where I would be without them.
Yeah. And what I like about your generation is that you are challenging the cultural norms of my generation and my parents' generation, right? That says, my community experience is not your community experience, and I shouldn't be beholden to what your lived experiences were. I honor, I value, I respect it, but that's not my lived experience. And it should be okay, and you, Myra, you said people with their spouses. People, when you phone that friend, don't phone the friend that you want to be somebody other than who they are.
Mm,
Phone the friend that you know who they are and you know how they'll show up. See, those spouses, many times, male and female, because there's a lot of same gender loving people, right, in community. So, male or female, we want our spouse and our partner to be somebody other than who they really are.
mm,
Then we're disappointed when they continue to be who they are because they haven't become who we want them to be, or even worse, who we are. How many times have you heard somebody say, I would never do that? What this person did to me. I would never do that to them. They did this. Okay, you would never do it, but you're not them.
mm.
Stop trying to hold them to your standard.
Yeah.
What you have to do is be courageous enough to say, that person doesn't align
Let me not
with,
call them.
right?
I do
And
that.
Reverend Tam, you been talking to my therapist?
you know, I'm just saying, this
What's
is
going
what I
on?
this is what I know about my God. Whenever I talk to people, it could be a patient, it could be on a podcast, it could be anywhere. God gives me downloads, and I am obedient to say the things that God tells me to say. And invariably, somebody is going to be blessed as a result of it. And that's how we have to show up as our authentic selves, right? We throw around words and they become buzzwords, and then the words tend to lose their meaning. But the words don't lose their meaning. Our use of the word loses its meaning. So if we stay true to, authenticity and just being who we are and taking the risk that people won't like us. I say some will, some won't. So what? So what?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, you and my therapist been talking, but
I,
we'll get
I
to that
call,
later.
look, I called her him. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who your therapist is, but yeah, I called them.
Yes, I could tell. So, as we wrap up, you gave us a lot of different takeaways, but if you were to give us something to really drive it home, what would be your takeaway?
Um, Start the conversation. The note that I wrote a little bit earlier, we are coming out of winter, moving into spring, and we'll soon be at summer. Family reunions, family gatherings will be happening. Start having these conversations, make it a game. Write down some questions on a card. You all are doing a phenomenal job with this interview, right? And your preparation for this interview. Start asking these questions. Hey, I know that I'm trying to protect myself and I'm trying to protect my children. But there is family history, medical history in our lineage that could impact me in years to come. I want to do a better job at prevention, being proactive, and knowing what my risks are. And and always presented in love, because it's hard to go to the family reunion and you go to the matriarch and the patriarch and whew, it's hard, but do it in love, right? And say, I want to know my family medical history. Do you know what grandma died of? Do you know what grandpa died of? Do you know what great grandma died of? Do you know what great grandpa died of? Does diabetes run in our family? Does hypertension run in our family? And then, say, hey, let's make a family medical tree. We know, where we trace back to, but trace back to and find out for whatever region we were stolen from, right? Ripped out from, what were the common diseases that might be important. So it's doing what you are doing. Have the conversation. Be courageous enough to have the conversation. And early detection saves lives. I strongly believe that because of God, because of phenomenal medical team, because of my ability to adequately advocate for myself, and because I was diagnosed early enough to have enough treatment options that I could choose the most aggressive treatment path to eradicate the cancer. And so not only did I live beyond the 5 years, I just celebrated my 20th cancer anniversary.
What an amazing takeaway.
Yes, you drove it on home. You said more stuff I've been talking about with my therapist. This is crazy. Thank you. Thank you. Because also, we didn't say it, but in Black families, colon cancer is really high. And I
Yeah.
have it on both my mom and my dad's side. And so I've
Mhm.
been in conversation about what does it look like for me to make sure I'm, having early detection, doing the things to take care of my colon, having conversations and things like that. So thank
Yeah.
you. That was perfect.
Wonderful. This has
Yeah.
been delightful. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's it for this episode of Black Women Healing Podcast, y'all.